and she's speaking another language. So the interpreter finally said she thanked you for employing her.
Wow.
Because without us, that business would never have gotten off the ground. And I walked out of the building and I went,
You even have the echo right now. You have the echo effect. Keep going.
I can't live with or without you.
The reason Chris is singing and is very happy, the first time ever, we're on location
We
here.
are.
Not quite there. Filmed on location. Listen to the roaring applause. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Where are we at today, Mike?
We are at Latitudes, located in Southlak, Texas.
South of the lake, the mean streets of Southlak. We are here.
Yes,
Yes,
indeed.
We've made it.
We have. First ever.
I'm excited. Are you excited?
I'm very excited.
Okay.
You just going straight to the guest? You weren't even going to talk about your day or anything like that? You just jumping straight in?
Why do you keep asking personal questions
Sorry.
about
Here, keep going.
my day? It's getting intrusive. How's your day?
Oh, it's really great now.
Really? Well, why is that?
I'm eating some puffy Cheetos,
Can I join you?
courtesy of our guest here.
Yes, our guest here has
Latitudes in Southlak, Texas. You got to get closer to the mic. People need to hear the crunch.
That is a puffy Cheeto unlike any other.
The cheese on that is fantastic.
Yes. And sitting in front of me, what do I have?
What do you have here? Oh, a block of cheese, extra sharp cheddar. Another thing courtesy of
All
our
laid out for
guests.
us by our friends at
wonderful
Latitudes.
guests, which are who?
Mark and Amy Latham.
Mark and Amy Latham, yes, here in person. What a delight. Who do we have to thank for the puffy Cheetos?
not Mr. Latham.
No, not Mr. Latham.
That would be me.
Yes.
Which
yes.
Hostess
15 to
extraordinaire.
20 years of seeing this kind of hospitality shown
Yes.
my way and in the way of many others here. We go back quite a ways.
Quite a ways.
I think we were in a life group together early on. These are OG members of 121. They,
Oh, thank you.
They
You're looking
actually
at me
were
and saying
in
that
the
like
house.
I didn't know that, but
Well, I just want to make
appreciate
sure
that.
because
Is that where y'all met for the first time? Like small group world? You three?
Mark
At
and-
121?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
we did, yeah.
Where did you two meet for the first time?
The two of us?
Yeah.
First Baptist Church?
First
Two of you that
Baptist
were literally
Hearst.
looking at First Baptist Hearst. Okay. Was that like in a small group?
Do you really want to
Student ministry?
know
That's
the
a
answer to
long
this question?
So I'll be transparent.
Okay.
Very forthright.
I like
Yeah,
that.
we're
I
very
like that,
honest
right?
here.
I met Amy
Yeah.
because she taught aerobics with my wife.
Okay. There we go.
It's the second time I've heard this kind of story.
I thought you were going to say more there, but that's okay.
So that's, and then I was singing in the choir and we did a Easter pageant and she was a dancer.
Hey, careful.
She was a dancer
Uh-huh.
in the musical,
Thank you.
There we go. Good clarification.
like an angel dancing around
There
after
it
the
is.
resurrection, that type of thing.
That was your
That
character?
was-
You were the
wow.
angel?
I was.
She was.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, he wasn't.
I was not an angel. No. I did not herald anything.
Obviously.
No. Yeah, so we got to know each other
Yeah.
then.
Yeah.
And
It's awesome.
funny story is at one point one of our co-friends asked her, like, if you were ever looking for a guy, what would you be looking for? And she's like, Mark
No,
Latham.
no, no,
I'm
no.
sorry.
That's not how it
Tell the
goes.
right-
no
tell the right
guy
story.
can
I
ever
wasn't
tell
there.
these stories.
I wasn't
there.
Yes,
That's,
please.
not quite there
No,
for the,
yeah, let's hear it.
We
Let's
were
hear it.
all, it was post church service.
Okay.
I was standing with my two friends and Mark comes bebopping up and
Beat bopping.
in his little three button suit. What's it called?
Oh.
How many
Little
buttons?
three-piece? Do you have a vest?
Very down.
No vest.
Double-breasted?
Double-breasted. That's the term. Double-breasted suit.
Back when I used to wear suits to church.
Right, and his little Coca-Cola tie.
Oh,
And he comes bebopping up and all of his handsomeness. And I was a single college girl at the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he said something witty and then just walks away. And I'm like, if I could clone Mark Latham, that is who I'd want to
In
marry.
that moment, that's all he
Yes.
needed to do. That's
all.
I didn't
What-
hear this. This was not, she was not coming on to me.
Bop? You beat so let me recap. You were beat bopping, walking up, you said a phrase, you walked off, that was it.
Yeah, so my
Wow.
nickname used to be Marky Mark Funky Bunch.
Okay.
Marky Mark Fresh Prince or different. So I was a bebopper, young.
Maybe I should have
Idiot.
said,
Hey, Mark.
what's a word for sachet that's more masculine?
I don't know. The beat bopping was pretty
Strolled. He strolled.
good. He strolled. He had
He
swagger. He had a
sauntered,
swagger.
swaggered
He had good
over.
swagger. Good
Yes.
swagger.
He had a
Way.
great
I
swagger.
had swagger game.
Good
Yeah.
swag.
Yeah.
And good phrasing, apparently. It just took one phrase.
Well, I'm very impressed.
One
It
Coca-Cola
technically
tie.
took more than that, but
Oh,
I knew of him.
well, now the story's not us.
Well, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
Okay, let's just keep it that way.
So fast forward years later, that same friend
Yeah.
invited me to have dinner at their house with her
Okay.
and became a reacquainted friendship, hanging out after church. And a couple months later, we defined the relationship of
Had
wanting
the
to.
DTR.
You had the DTR.
Oh, I did.
Wow. Did
Yeah.
you initiate the DTR? You're
Yes,
like,
I
it's
did.
time.
Did you
It's
say
time.
this
With
is
your-
about to be defined?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we were both at a point where neither of us were looking for a relationship. I'd just gone through a divorce, and the last thing I wanted was to get back into a relationship. And so I'm like, hey, I just want to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But man, the more time I spend with you, the more time I want to spend with you.
Yeah.
So
Swagger right there.
That is swagger.
That was a good swag. Did you pick
I
up on
picked
that
up
swag?
on that. Yeah.
Yeah. Guys, be listening for that.
feel free to use that line
Adding that to my arsenal.
much as you want.
Oh yeah. No, we're writing that down. Did you write that down on a legal pad? Do you have it over there?
Yeah,
Thank
right
you very
here by
much.
The
Very-
block of cheese that Amy Latham laid out for me here. So
Block
yeah.
of cheese. Sorry if you are hearing some Cheetos. You're actually going to hear that all throughout today's episode. So there you have it. Okay, so a couple random questions. Now these are just random.
Random.
Not a lot of thought have been given to these. They've come to top of mind. So for either one of you, have any of you ever had speaking lines on TV? Just curious.
That would be a no, Bob. Nope.
I was interviewed on television.
okay.
Thank you, Michael.
Yeah.
You're welcome, Marcus. Thank you.
I was interviewed on the Weather Channel many years ago when we were selling a product that was used for a tornado shelter. So in my previous career, I sold industrial composites used in heavy equipment, mostly oil and gas, but we had one line of ballistic panels that was eventually made into a safe room.
Okay.
And so at the National Home Builder Show, we were showing our product, and a guy from the Weather Channel came by, inquired. We went through the kind of technical aspect. He's like, hey, can I interview you? This is a really cool product. So
Yeah.
he later came out, this crew filmed me
Yeah.
sharing what this was about. This was after like the big tornado that hit Oklahoma City, the hurricanes that had gone through Florida, 2003, 2004, 2005. Like it was something that people thought, gotta have this in our house. So I was interviewed and put on the Weather Channel as...
Were you wearing a suit?
I was not. I was wearing a
Coca-Cola
striped,
tie.
a dark but striped shirt. He's like,
Okay.
just so you know, don't ever wear stripes when you're on
Oh
TV.
yeah. The
It does
camera
not do
stripes.
True story.
Everybody knows that.
How many times did you say industrial composites during your interview?
Or ballistic.
Yes, the same question.
well. Once or twice, just to explain what it was.
No, he said that really seriously. I was hoping it was like 17 times.
Me too.
That's
But,
okay.
yeah,
That's
that's
okay.
okay. Yeah. Well,
Weather Channel debut. Okay. Okay. Very good. Very good. Did you have a question over there? I feel like you
do
look
have
like
a
you're ready for
question.
one. Yeah.
yeah, I think we're gonna
You're giving me the look.
we're gonna do some appetizer questions here
Okay.
on top of the one that you just
Keep
asked,
looking
right?
at me and saying that. We're waiting on the question,
Yeah,
but
I'm,
take your time.
I'm still just happy to be here at Latitudes with the Lathams.
We're so happy that you're here.
because we go back like family. I'm sorry if you're feeling left out.
What are you talking
because
about? I'm right here.
I
This
just
is
wanna make
family
sure
and having
you're okay.
Cheetos. This is a great time.
I know.
This is a great day
They
for
welcome
America.
you in.
He
They
literally
welcome you
is
in.
family. He's Uncle Chris to our kids.
You didn't know that, did you?
Wow.
That's a surprise.
I did just become
yeah,
the
surprise. So I just don't want you to feel
fourth
bad
person.
here, but
I'm sorry. Wow. I guess that's where I'm at.
this is one where I think I know the answer.
You know
to.
what? I'll just go ahead and listen into family. You guys just
No,
talk.
have some Cheetos. Yeah, sure. Okay. Favorite movie character?
I have so many that I could go to.
Same.
It doesn't have to be the
Inigo
top
Montoya, for sure.
High five. We talked about that ahead of time. Too bad I don't have that sound effect, but maybe you can do that in a minute. Okay, that's one. Can't do Princess Bride now.
Oh,
Oh no, you got
that's
it.
going to be a slow death for him if he can't use Princess Bride.
He
But
can use it if he wants.
What?
Yeah, I've got to go Robert De Niro in Heat.
oh,
The Al Pacino, Robert
Yes,
De Niro in
that
the coffee
combo.
shop
What's
deal.
the famous line there that he says during that scene? Something like, "You got to know how
You
to
killed my father.
get
Prepare to die.
out
wrong one.
Oh yeah.
when the heat's around the corner," or something like that.
You really.
All I
think that
remember
was
is
a
him
line?
saying, if it comes down to you and me, like, I will take you out.
Yeah.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
like, as long as we both know where we're at,
Oh yeah.
Can you say that again?
when it comes down to it, I will take you out.
Do you think they were eating Cheetos like that during the scene?
Probably the director, the talent probably was, but people like me know.
Do you think it would change the intensity of heat if they say that same scene played out while they're eating Cheetos?
They'd rename it Cheat.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, and that was. You got the Amy laugh, though. You got the Amy laugh.
Okay, question for Amy here.
Oh, yes.
This is a special question. We didn't even plan this one.
Oh, my.
Yeah. So dad jokes get a bad rap. But since we are open to the female opinion here,
Yes, we are.
very open,
Yes, both audiences, male and female.
how come mom jokes are not a thing?
Do you know she looked at Mark? Were you looking for? What's?
I always look at Mark.
It's a good. Oh, because he's so dapper.
He is.
He's wearing a suit
my
here today.
eye candy.
Everyone, 3 buttons today. Coca-Cola tie.
I mean, we have too many things to do
That's what
than think of corny jokes.
I'm going to go ahead and interject here as the youngest person and non-family member here at the table. So I've heard mom jokes. I mean, I get we're busy, but there is such a thing as a mom joke. Am I not going to be backed up by
you know
this?
I'm just.
I don't know them.
hear
I mean,
enough.
but they're equally cheesy. Can I say that? Am I going to get
I think you just
blackballed
alienated
off this?
half
Wow.
of our audience.
Okay, I'll
here,
see
Mike.
myself out.
So you
I
need to be
think-
more open to women. Okay,
Unlike men, women don't have a part of their mentality that stays an 8-year-old boy.
Yeah.
That's where our dad jokes come from. Really,
That's fair.
It's the immature part of our 8-year-old self.
Matthew's already saying them, so I do. Yeah, I believe that. So basically, since a little boy does not reside inside of a woman, therefore there are no such thing as mom jokes.
I think we've answered it here.
Yep.
Okay,
You're welcome.
we figured it out.
Solved all the world's problems.
Speaking of solving the world's problems, good segue for that. Do you speak any other languages?
I mean, no. Spanish, just because, you know, Senora Chavez was very scary in high school. So those Spanish words are built in to my brain, but no near fluent. Definitely not fluent.
What about Donde está Maria?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked. Maria es en la biblioteca.
Oh, it happened! It's finally happened. This is incredible. I don't even know here. This might be loud in our ears. I'm sorry, but we are very excited. It's the first official guest we've ever had.
If we came here today just for that,
I mean, I'm
is-
done. I'm done now.
Yeah.
Donde está Maria? Maria es en biblioteca because Maria is the library. She's a librarian in the library.
Yeah.
She lives there at all times. How does everyone not understand this? This is
Why-
part of Spanish 101.
Poor Maria. Why is she always?
I don't know.
Why is she always lost? Well, she's not
That's true.
lost. Nobody can.
She
Nobody
might
can
be.
find her.
She
Maybe
might
she
be
is
lost
lost.
in the library.
Right.
Maybe that's why she's been in there the whole time. No one's ever found her.
she's dedicated to her craft.
I've said librarian this whole time, Maria.
She
We
seems
apologize.
marginalized to me. I think
so.
Isolated, marginalized.
I mean, every Spanish teacher 101, I seriously heard that from like 6th grade on. Donde está? Am I the only one?
Yeah.
Oh, I am the only one. Oh, okay.
but your family today.
And a little bit of Hindi.
Okay. A little
But
bit Hindi.
no, like just
Todo.
English.
Okay.
a little bit.
Yeah,
Markimus,
English.
what
Tora.
about
Hindi.
you? Hindi?
Tora.
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 I can't roll my R's.
Little. Just a
I
little.
can't
Neither
believe you
can
bring this up.
I.
We're the same. You really can't roll yours?
So there's a thing.
Okay.
When we were in language, well, it wasn't language school. It was a school to help you learn language well.
Okay.
We did a workshop. They said, "Oh, if you can't trill your R's, come to our workshop. You'll be trilling by the end."
Yeah.
Nope.
Didn't work.
Because the piece of skin underneath your tongue, if it's too short, it inhibits your trilling ability. And so back in the day, they used to cut babies, whatever that piece of skin is called. I know. At birth, they would clip that. And so the lady in the workshop was like, "Oh, you could, like, if you're having any dental work, just have your dentist clip that."
Oh.
And then you should be able to trill. But it's like it comes down to the length of your skin flap tongue thing.
Your
tongue skin
under
flap?
tongue skin flap.
So I bet yours is too short or too long, whatever it's
So
supposed
does
to
that
be.
mean we would have to get it clipped?
Yeah. Yep.
I've got
The
some
under
pictures of
tongue,
that.
the under tongue skin flap.
Yeah.
That's an image.
What kind of drilling do they do for trilling? What kind of exercises?
Oh, it was lots of humiliating sounds that you had to make. Like you had to try to put your back of your tongue at the roof of your mouth while you were breathing out.
Can you try that right now?
Nope.
My
But
practice
I-
was just saying dog over and over in
Oh.
Spanish,
Just
and
dog?
it wouldn't like el perro.
Pedal?
Okay,
Yeah,
you don't
like
need
I
to
couldn't
humble
do
brag about that.
dog
Perro.
in Espanol.
Perro.
Yeah, I'm jealous.
I can kind of fake it. It's like
Oh, is that how you do that? Okay.
Well, I feel like it comes across. I mean, you hear the natural perro in that, right?
Right.
Right?
there?
Is that not-
Actually, no.
I can't do it.
One more
I've
time.
I can't
tried-
either.
I've tried so hard. I've just now given up and I've accepted.
Same.
I don't have the undertongue
I've
skin
accepted my fate.
flap
No.
that you gentlemen have.
Yeah.
Way to go.
Yeah, we have a
One more
Latitudes
time.
product
I'm
that
hearing
could
something
clip
there.
that for you. It's from India.
Oh, okay. Last question. Last question. Then we're going
question.
to turn it over to you for the meat of this interview. Okay, ready?
Chris is the meaty guy.
wanna-
This is another. What?
Did you want to ask the last question?
Yeah, I got. Have
better than
either
being
one
the
of
cheesy
you,
guy.
either one of you, ever been a president of a group or an organization?
Oh my word.
This what? These are just questions that naturally.
That
come.
is just teed up for Mark to.
That's a weird coincidence. Then that's a shocker.
Mm-hmm.
So,
It's almost like we didn't meet yesterday and have this conversation.
okay, guys,
Gonna be president. Gonna be president.
Let's not talk about that.
No, I said I've got a whole nonprofit work, a whole career that most people don't know about what I did
In politics.
2010 and before that, right?
Yeah.
Long time ago.
Okay.
For people like me, that's a big part of my life, a long time ago. But yes, I was the vice president and president of the National Storm Shelter Association, going back to the tornado hurricane shelters.
Yep. Industrial composites.
Yes, very good.
Yes, thank you.
So
Ballistics.
we had a group that was working through getting the building code ratified for what storm shelters had to meet, and I was
The president.
the president of that group for a period of time.
How long was this period of time? If you had to guess.
I think it was right before we left our careers, and so I think I was vice president for a year, then president for a year, and then I phased out of that whole.
Did that
people
just undo you? I'm sorry.
No,
I was just wondering if that
No,
just.
you have a really serious question.
Yeah, I mean, you're vice president, then president, and then you were just done.
Yes.
Okay.
Did you make people call you president?
Yes, they stood when I entered the room.
Yes.
They sang "Hail to the Chief," all that. It all
and you had
was-
like a big painting of yourself
Yes.
on the wall, as you should.
I had it attached to my back, so it was always behind me, always ready to be shown.
That's good. Very presidential of you. El Presidente
A president?
of C.
Yeah.
C.
I actually don't mean to brag, but I was vice president of my class
That
high school
counts?
class.
That's presidential. It's in the presidential category.
and then treasurer when I was senior.
Okay,
Yeah.
now you're just humble
I
bragging.
was demoted.
So see, yeah, you weren't expecting that.
Didn't realize we were going from president to all the other roles. I thought we were just talking president. So President Marcus, can I call you Marcus?
Sure.
Is Mark short for something?
Nope.
No Markimus, no Marky.
Mark William.
No. Okay. Mark William.
Yeah.
Are you Mark William the third?
Nope.
Okay. The fourth?
Nope.
Okay.
Original.
The original Mark,
the OG. Okay.
the maker's Mark.
Here we go.
All right. Tell us about the Latham family. Now, I know you guys, so we've.
Thanks for the reminder. Yes.
Do you want to just tell our story?
I'm
I
along
would
with the
love-
audience
I
as
would
the
love to hear
non-family.
the Latham story for those that don't know you as well as I have for the past 15 to 20 years.
Appreciate you keep looking at me when you're saying that.
I am. I'm looking at your
just single
forehead.
me out. Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Who's talking? You?
We're talking.
Go
He's asking
ahead.
us
You
a
can
question, so
start.
we can talk.
Yeah.
So we just had our 25th anniversary.
Oh, congrats.
June.
Congrats.
That's
25th.
exciting. Wow.
We were married in June. The church, 121 Community Church, started in September. So we were newlyweds as we got into this church. Kind of grew up there. Children were later born in Grapevine,
Yep.
Creation Land, all that at 121.
Yeah.
So 25 years of our life there at 121.
How many kids do you have?
2.
Okay.
Son, Taylor, daughter, Audrey.
Okay.
They are both now in college, freshman and a sophomore.
That's amazing.
So
Empty
we are
nest.
empty nesting and enjoying
And
it.
loving it.
Yeah.
Yes. Our kids know we're enjoying it, that we're loving it. We love our kids, but we also like that they're gone.
And that's healthy. That's a healthy.
That's said with
way to be.
love,
Yeah.
everyone.
It's a double-edged sword. It's sad and happy at the same time.
It's like a bittersweet. I can't speak from experience, but I'm assuming like a bittersweet kind of feeling.
Definitely,
A little bit.
yes.
Okay.
There are moments that you miss them.
Sure.
You think about them, but then they're also like, oh, we don't have to worry about that. We don't have to. They're out of sight, out of mind. I mean,
Yeah.
you can see them on Life 360 if you need
Sure.
to, but
Sure.
at the same time, you know where they're at. You know
Yeah.
what they're doing.
Yeah.
You trust them to make good decisions. They're both responsible.
Sure.
We were
young
just
adults.
talking about how we obviously you love your kids, right? But so as they have grown older, we were sitting at the dining table, whatever, kitchen table, and I just wanted you to be in the right room, and how we like them, like they really are.
That's cool.
Good humans, and so we got to tell Taylor that when we visited him. And
Did you say you're a good human? Like when you saw him?
I believe I did.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. That
Just a human child.
yes.
Well, it's also, I mean, I think it's probably a testimony to how y'all raised them as well. You don't have to worry.
Well,
They're good humans, as you said.
we still worry because, it's kind of like when you send them out to drive, you're not necessarily worried about their driving. It's the crazy people around them, So it's that yes, we know that they are grounded and they love the Lord, but it's the world that they have been thrust into. And so I guess the worry for me comes like what's going to be thrown at them.
Sure.
Yeah.
So,
Sure.
But
Yeah.
So pick up where you left off.
We have kids. Yes, and we have finished 13 years of working together, side by side in the roles that we're currently in for 12 years. But 13 years ago, we stepped into this role or stepped into this nonprofit ministry world and have been partners in an occupation, if you will, for 13 years.
Yeah.
So tell us about this nonprofit world.
So for the last 12 years, we've run a business called Latitudes. It was originally called Heartcraft, and we rebranded it when we took over as Latitudes. And we help facilitate sales of products made by artisans around the world. But it's people that they may be an ethnic or religious minority group. They may be
Religious, like enunciate your word.
ethnic or religious minority group.
There you go. Good job.
Sorry.
That's okay.
25 years of marriage right there.
That's just
They might have a
on your toes.
disability.
That's real talk.
Low caste, uneducated. So it's kind of the forgotten, isolated, marginalized. And we'll have someone living in that country that sees a need and wants to help them through an employment project. So they'll then start a workshop, give them a skill, train them, and we help them develop a product line that we would buy and sell for them as the starting point to launch their business. And then after they get to a point of having a marketable product, they can go sell to anyone they want. But we're kind of the incubating stage, and then we try and continue to support them through ongoing sales. So we've been doing this role for 12 years. First 4 years we were in Orlando, and then we moved back to Texas to grow the business. 2012 we took over. 16 we moved back here. So it's been a long process of trying to get this to a position of stability.
And is that to help people because them starting a business or trying to create some kind of income that's just, I mean, it's really difficult for people to do. So it's helping them kind of connect those dots a little easier, or?
Yeah, in most cases, when you don't have the option for education, you don't have skills training. Like when we were living overseas, we had a house helper. It was customary to have that, and you had to wash your floors every day because of the dust that came in. But her daughter would come and help, and she was 13. She had no idea how old she was. She could not read. She could not write. She'd never been to school a day in her life. And we said, why didn't you ever go to school? She's like, because I'm learning what I'm going to do for the rest of my life, because this is what my mom has done her whole life. So the thought of doing something different and having another plan or option for their life in order to make a little more money so your kids can afford to go to school, because they had to pay for their kids to be in school in this country. So from that standpoint, they don't always have the opportunity or even the vision to do something on their own. Or they're being told they can't because of who they are. Like there's one group that we work with that their name in Arabic actually means unclean. And so no one would buy anything from them directly because you're buying it from someone who's unclean.
Wow.
But if, say, an American person took that to market to sell it, she could sell the product that was made by the same people, but since they're not the face of that product, it can be sold.
Okay.
So sometimes just breaking down barriers or removing obstacles, that's to give someone latitude, is to remove obstacles and give them freedom. So that's kind of part of the reason our company is called that, is that's the purpose of it, is to give them a sense of freedom and opportunity. And we do it because everyone isn't made in the image of God, and everyone has the ability to be creative as he is creative. And so restoring somebody in a relationship with God through the ability to make something and to be sufficient, provide for your family, is important. And to have a deeper spiritual conversation with someone when they don't know how to feed their kids is almost impossible. So if you want to get to a point of having a deeper spiritual conversation, they need to feel safe. And sometimes to do that, they need income and the ability to feed their family.
Right.
Yeah.
So that they're not constantly stressed on just the basics. So in many areas, that's the first point of building a relationship. The other part of this is that when you start to employ someone and work with them daily, they get to see the gospel in human form as you are gentle, kind, patient.
Listen up, Mike.
All of that comes out. The question is why? Why aren't you treating me the way other people treat me? Why aren't you doing this?
Yeah.
And the answer is always Jesus.
Yeah.
This is how Jesus says to treat people. This is what we're doing. This is how we saw him treat people. In the Gospels, you see him feed, you see him heal, you see him in daily relationships, meeting people where they're at. They didn't have to come find him in the temple and get into the Holy of Holies to have a relationship with him, right? He was with them, dining with them. So that's kind of what we see playing out in businesses. It's a daily relationship side by side where the gospel can be translated in a very personal and real way.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So really, that's what you mean by extending freedom, is you're opening up these doors that may be closed or could stay closed for these folks that are coming alongside and now able to produce income, be able to provide for their family, be open to more conversations that could introduce them to life-saving relationship as well.
Right.
Yep. So obviously, you being the president of the storm shelter people, and Amy, you have a background in
Vice President.
the vice. I was going to say, since I've known you, design has been one of your great abilities, and so obviously you have leadership. You have things that you can bring to the table. I imagine that this wasn't anything on your radar as far as during the time that we met. This is something that just God provided a way to do this. And what have you seen him do over that course of time that only he can do that makes you say, wow, definitely him, not us?
Well, one story that I always share when we shared the Latham story is Vince Rice was in our living room in the life group that you were coming to in our home. And at the time, our church 121 was doing a study in Amos. And so 121 partnered up with IJM. And, I was a stay-at-home mom doing a little bit of design on the side and no clue that human trafficking, well, that's not true. I knew that human trafficking existed, but not to the degree where, like Vince, when he was in our home, he said that, oh yeah, IJM just helped rescue a 4-year-old girl that week. Wrecked me. So
I think we had a 2 and a 4-year-old at the time, or a 3 and a 5-year-old at the time.
And you're, as a mom, a new mom, you look through lenses completely differently. Like you have new lenses. And so when I heard that wrecked me. And so I got God, when Mark, I don't know if you remember, Mark was in the early days leading the men's ministry. And we at 121 took a vision trip to India to try to find some partnerships there. And so when he came back, that was 2003, Taylor was about turning 1. And he came back and, he was making pretty good money back then. And he was talking about, visions and dreams and amazing things that God was doing in the lives of people in India. And I'm like, good for you. Go back to making money.
Yeah.
And so when Vince shared that in our living room, like that was, I knew my ministry was my family, like number one, but that was like the beginning of God moving. And I say, what has God done? Your question is, what has God done? Well, he's changed me. Like, would never have envisioned us living in India. So we were like newbies when we left for India. I think that's, I know it sounds selfish, but that's the biggest for my heart of stone to be changed to a heart of flesh in the midst of all of that I would never, ever have placed myself doing what we do in Latitudes or living in India had he not just radically come in. But he was very gentle too. Like Mark always says, what do you say about our ship?
Yeah, we were a family on a boat heading one direction, and over the course of about 7 years, God gently just turned us. And by the time the opportunity to go overseas was in front of us, we were moving in a completely different direction.
Wow.
It wasn't forced. It wasn't anything that was like harsh. It was this gentle, and then the wind was behind us, and we were moving in a completely different course. And the things that we had our eyes set on previously were gone.
Yeah.
Our eyes were focused on something completely different. So I just always say that our ship was going one way, and God gently just redirected us and gave us a passion for something that was completely different. And there were several things that happened family-wise, retirements, and watching, and you realize, am I pursuing the American dream? Am I searching for security and position? What am I actually supposed to be doing? And what is the end goal of my life? So watching my dad retire and go, wow, so is this where my trajectory is this?
Yeah.
And it makes you question and wonder.
Sure.
And then when you get exposed to believers in other countries, and then you come back to America and you sit through a July 4th Americana church celebration, and you realize, what would a Chinese Christian have done in this worship service? What would an Indian Christian have done in this worship service if they weren't willing to stand up and applaud our military and our flag and whatever else was presented in front of the church? Because you have the nationalism of and patriotism in our church, especially since World War II, where that's a big part of a multiple generations. So at some point you're like, I don't know that I feel comfortable with that anymore. So there are times where you just feel certain parts of you have changed because of exposure to what you've seen abroad and people that you've met that you love and are your brothers and sisters. And you're like, oh, how would they have felt? Else, and you're empathizing with them. Where if you're not exposed to that, they would have never come to mind.
Yep.
There's always just been a heartbeat that's run through, or a fiber in the DNA that runs through 121 from the very beginning of being globally minded.
Yep. Could you tell during those 7-ish years that the ship was turning, or do you look back and you can tell now? Like, could you feel it in the moment? You know, I know not necessarily day to day, but throughout those 7, I think you said 7 years, that everything was kind of shifting. You may not know where you were going, obviously.
For me, going to India and meeting people and hearing their stories of God breaking into their life was like reading the book of Acts.
Yeah.
And my worldview and my view of God was radically changed over the course of 10 days.
Because you were seeing it in person, like tangibly, humans in front of you.
Visions, dreams, healing, the things that you hear about and read about, but I hadn't seen in the Western world.
Sure.
Right.
And you have questions like, well, what about the little lady in the village in India that never hears, is it wrong that God would send her to hell? That's one of the stories that people always ask you. And then when you hear people say, I was dreaming of Jesus, and then someone showed up to tell me who he was to confirm the story, you realize that, as the scripture says, no one is without excuse. God reveals himself to everyone. If nothing else, by nature, he reveals himself. But there's a piece of, from what we've seen and what we've heard, there's an element of God's story in every civilization. He reveals himself. And you can't, I don't know, we found a civilization that doesn't have some emblematic component of God and his character in that community, because we're all made in his image. They just may not know the connection to scripture. So there's some great stories that really reveal part of that. But so I had a quick awakening, but I came right back to my job and had the same long-term goals of financial stability and growth and promotion and all that stuff. But then as you start to see more and more happen, more and more trips overseas with other people, like, you have this awakening, this stirring, and this little bit of a passion to what's going on in their world versus yours. Right before we went to India in 2004, they had a tsunami. So obviously when we got there, it was you realize what's going on. You know people that are from that southern part of India that or their family or friends were affected by that. So all of a sudden the news is different, because now when a story happens about something going on in India, it triggers a part of your heart that wasn't alive before. Right? But it really didn't change our long-term goals or focus, until we got into more of the justice. You understand what some of these things look like in a different culture, in a different society, and that we are called to be those that bring justice, speak justice. We care for widows and orphans. Those are things that God calls us to do, right? That's our one of our goals in our life, and one of our core values is taking care of people that can't take care of themselves. We see it in America where people have that. It's kind of built in, but in other countries you don't necessarily have that. The family's supposed to do it, but what if you don't have family? What happens to those people at that point? And then we took a trip to India in 2009. After the iGEM component, they asked me to go back, and I asked Amy, and she said yes. And that was like a big step.
Yeah.
And while we're there, we're asking questions about how do you live over here with your kids to workers that were already overseas. And then you stop and say, why did I just ask that? It's a question in my brain and in my heart, but why do I need to know that? Am I just asking for them so they can share? And then you come through that, and after that trip, we really sensed, well, why not us? Why wouldn't we go?
Yeah.
And we felt like we had the flexibility, the ability, the desire. And so we started researching, like, well, what would that look like? We went and worked overseas. And then we're praying, well, God, if you're calling us to this, are you calling our kids?
Yeah.
Because 5 and 7 years old, like, I don't want to take them into another part of the world away from their family and friends.
Sure.
Is this fair to them? And a story I love to tell is our kids used to listen to one song each on my phone before they went to bed. And our daughter started listening to Aradhana. Aradhana is a fusion music between Indian bhajans and Christian lyrics. The guy was a missionary kid growing up in Nepal, and he had this incredible idea of mixing Hindi music, the language and the culture, with Christian words. And she was listening to this in Hindi every night going to bed, a language she could not speak. And I'm like, Audrey, why did you choose that? She's like, because the album cover has a little mom and a little baby. And that's, and I'm like, okay, God, you're big enough for this too.
Yeah.
If our daughter can start listening to Indian bhajans to go to sleep in a different language, he is working on her heart as much as he's working on ours.
And finding an attraction to it, like she was drawn to it and kept listening to it. So it was resonating with her.
Out of all the songs.
Yeah. And God was gracious too to line up circumstances that where neither one of us felt a peace. So the road that we lived next to, they were going to expand it from 2 lanes to 6, right?
Well, 4 lanes.
4
2 lanes
lanes
are divided into 2 other lanes going their direction. They were going to make it 6 lanes, and it was the side of our house.
So we were like, oh, nope, we're going to sell. So we sold our house, and we found ourselves renting because we didn't have a piece to buy. And so it was just different, we didn't see the whole picture, but we saw little bits and pieces along the way.
Yeah.
And we could just only explain it to people like, we just don't have a piece about A, B, and C.
Yeah.
And so he used our circumstances because he was gracious.
Yeah, we closed in October, moved into a rental house, went to India in November, and then by January, we're starting to ask questions about long-term, what would it look like to live and work overseas?
Yeah.
The following year, we went back. We took our kids with us for a short trip to India with a team, and then we stayed for another week in India to meet people that were living and working there. And again, that was how are our kids going to see this part of the world?
Yeah.
And you realize at that age how flexible they are and what home means to them. Home means wherever mom and dad and my stuffed animals are. Like those things are so flexible to children at that age that our kids had a blast.
Yeah.
And they're seeing things that
That's awesome.
It's amazing what it can open up their eyes. Like, you want to know what idol worship looks like?
Yeah.
Walk through
This
India.
is it. Yeah.
Go to see all the shrines and all the temples and all the idols that are literally being worshipped, and sacrifices are being given to them to receive something back. Like, I never knew what that looked like growing up. I thought it was something that happened 2,000 years ago, and it doesn't happen anymore, but it does. It's another culture. So there are pieces that you just see this slow development of a plan that God was weaving in and around us. And we heard so many times as we kind of started down this road, oh, I could never do that. And we're like, well, we're not special. Like, we're not martyr complex people here. But when God gives you desire for something, it's like, how could I not do this?
Yeah.
I get the opportunity to go and do this.
And something you said in another podcast resonated with me, how, like if you have, I won't get it exactly the way you said it, but if you do uncomfortable things, but you know that God is behind those, and you come across like opposition or questioning, like you settle back into that peace that God provides. Like, like God led us to this point. And so when people are like, what in the world, India? Like some people thought we were crazy.
Oh, sure.
Oh, I had business guys that were like, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
Walking away from your career, like you've spent 13 years building this and you're just walking away, and you don't continue to get commission after you quit. You realize that, right?
Yeah.
Like everything you've built, commission sales guy, like it's all gone. I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm fine with that.
Sure. Yeah.
And those are definitely things that only God can do. And, giving you that world perspective, seeing the need and being able to have a heart for meeting that need. And so you're back here, and I know it's not an easy straight path, but you're here on the mean streets of Southlak, and people can walk in and they can hear more about what you're actually doing and maybe get more of a comprehensive view. But there are a lot of things that you can't say about what's being done just for safety and security reasons. And so I know that's very difficult from a marketing perspective. You can't just open up and market the way that you would want to. But what are things that you want to see happen for Latitudes that ultimately end up helping a lot more people?
And this kind of ties into your previous question about what God is doing and what we've seen him do. I mean, we could go through our multiple podcasts of what we've seen him do for us over the last 25 years. But then after we gave up our U.S. dreams and aspirations and got into this nonprofit world, how he's provided over and over and over again in so many different ways. And when we get to what we think is a dead end or an obstacle and we're ready to walk away, he'll open another door that we transition into. And it's the same work, it just looks different. We've been in 3 different stores in the last 6 years, been closed twice as we had to transition from one location to another. But what we really want to share is not what he's doing with us. I mean, that's an incredible part of just the way we've changed, but how he works in ways similar to the stories I'll talk about in India. But like if we have a partnership or an artisan group that we're working with, one video that we show in our showroom is a young lady, Mina, who lived with her grandparents, and she was ripe to be trafficked in a little village with no opportunities. She had no education. Her parents had left the village for work, and men come through there and offer to pay for a good job somewhere else. And these young ladies end up usually in brothels, if not in another very dangerous work situation. Well, we have someone that went and opened a workshop in this village, and this young lady started working there with the rule that she had to go to school first, her and her brother, then after school, like they were going to pay for her school, and then after school she would come and work. So she has an income. So fast forward 8 years from when this project was kind of started, she's now progressed through school. She reads, she writes, she's learned a trade, something that she can keep with her the rest of her life, something she could train her children with, a way to make income. And now she's our sister in Christ.
Wow.
And you have to really stop and think of the distance between this young lady and the gospel at some point is larger than you can imagine.
Yeah.
Right? There are no churches anywhere near her. There is no Bible anywhere near. There's no Christians.
Yeah.
The name of Jesus was not spoken in her village, but yet now it's there. And it wouldn't have been allowed in the village if it didn't come with a job. So what we sell here is great in providing income, stability, community, those type of things. But for security reasons, because there are so many societies, cultures, communities that are against Christians and evangelicals, we can't promote that. We're evangelical Christians that want to see God's love shared in a compassionate way, and that Christ is glorified in the midst of that community. That's our best asset, is the transformed lives and relationships. But I can't put that online. I can't do that. I have to honor, respect, and protect. And so we're always working with that arm tied behind our back, knowing that we can't use it. So how do I share the best part of the story when I can't share the best part of my story type of thing.
Yeah. It's got to be a hard tension. I mean, so like, what do you find yourself ending up being able to do? Like, I mean, like, how have you found over the 12, 13 years, like, okay, we can't quite go here with it. So we're going to try this as a solution or try that. Maybe you've tried a few different things too.
Personally, when someone is face to face with us, we try and be discerning, but we want to be as transparent as possible.
Yeah.
The biggest issue is what can I post online?
Yeah. Okay.
Especially something that data mining happens. So every website's data mined now, and governments are looking for ways to discover more about every person, right? There's facial recognition and other things that are out there. And so there are countries where it's, it is happening. They promote that it's happening.
Yeah.
And so you have to be careful, because if we have 23 projects, they all may not be underneath that type of scrutiny. But if half of them are, we got to treat all of them as if they are. So we've got an ad running on Way FM locally in Dallas-Fort Worth. And we're trying to figure out, how do we start to tell a story without being able to tell the story?
Yeah.
So our first ad talks about our items have a story behind them. Come learn what that story is. But how do I tell Mina's story in a very short message to get people to drive from another part of the Metroplex to Southlak if they weren't planning to come here to hear that story? Because I can't tell that story online. I can't post a video, but I have a video here that I can show someone. I've got photos. These are personal relationships that we have with these people. We've tried to visit as many of our teams. So we have 12 countries that we're currently working in, and I think we've been to 8 of them so far, and there are a couple that we just can't go to. If we were in their village, it would bring scrutiny.
Yeah.
And we don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But if there's a safe way to go and visit as a business person, I'm buying products from them, then I go do that. And we want to have that relationship. I think one of the things that moved me the most, that continues today to energize me, I was in a country visiting with one of our workshops, and I just wanted to encourage and bless them before I left. And this little lady, she'd only been working there for a couple of months, behind me, hadn't said a word the whole time I was there, started speaking. And she's speaking another language. So the interpreter finally said, she thanked you for employing her.
Wow.
Because without us, that business would never have gotten off the ground. And I walked out of the building and I wept.
Oh, yeah.
I want to right now.
Oh, yeah.
Because of the weight of how God used us to help her and put her in a community of people that loved her, cared about her, and value her. She'd never experienced that in her life before.
Yeah.
And that's the joy of being able to do that. But there's also a weight to it. And so I want to protect that woman as much as I want to promote her and advocate for her.
Yeah.
So that's the fine line we find ourselves having to walk. And it's frustrating because, again, you got that one arm, one leg tied to something. Like I just feel hobbled all the time that, man, I wish we could just do this. But that's not the world we live in.
Sure.
Right, and this is just a portal here at Latitudes. I mean, you come in here and the way that you have it set up, and a lot of it has to do with Amy's design background and your building background. It's just top notch and it rivals anything that you would see at Pottery Barn or World Market. And you walk in here, but you have a coffee bar, which is amazing. But you walk in here and it's beautiful furniture and beautiful handicrafts, things like that. But really the beauty is the stories that you can't tell. And that's the hard part. And that's why I want to ask you this, why we want to ask you is what are ways that people can be involved in extending freedom? What can they do that actually helps and to create more of these stories?
Well, from the get-go, I think when we took over this business, that isn't, a business. So we always when in marriage, you want to always have 2 yeses, right? Or 2 nos.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah. You want to be on the same page.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I always say that we've had 2 yeses when we took Latitudes over, that it needed to be a place, a destination place. It needed to have a brick and mortar component to it. So because we feel, and I have a strong burden that anybody that walks in from the surrounding cities, like we want people this to be an experiential place, like leave with a beautiful product that has been very well made. Cause that's one of the changes that we brought when we came on board is we have to have products that people will return to buy, not just a one-time, pity buy.
Yeah. Like high quality.
High quality, thank you. So we've achieved that. Like you can come in, you can get a high quality product, but we want people to leave changed. I feel a responsibility that if you walk through our doors and you, like me, like I say this from humility, like I had no idea that of the living conditions, we have it really good. Even the worst people that living in the worst conditions are well better off than most people in other parts of the world. And so I just want it to be an educational opportunity where people, hear how people are being pulled out of situations and rescued and provided for, but they also leave informed that this trafficking exists. Children are being exploited. Women predominantly are being exploited around the world or forgotten or overlooked, not given an opportunity. So I want people in the community to be changed when they walk out our doors.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But also to see that God sees each and every one of those women in that situation. His heart breaks for them, and he wants us to act for them, right? So it's not just coming in here and knowing that if I spend $20 on this item, that's going to help somebody out, but knowing that God is already there helping that person out, that there are other people there helping that person out. You can support it, but really this is a picture of God's story. We want people to be changed, not by a product or even Mina's story, right? But God's story. Like the fact that he cares and that he's willing to break through barriers to rescue his children. But obviously, to answer your question, people can come in and shop, and that makes an immediate impact. The more we sell, the more we buy, the more we buy, the more we employ. So our premise, employ, equip, empower, those are the things we're trying to do, and we do that through the sale of goods. So in that part, we are a business that has a buy and sell component, but we're a nonprofit. So we don't cover 100% of our expenses through what we sell. 3 of our teammates, we have to raise our salary through donations. So support is another way that you can do that financially. We have a golf tournament that we're getting ready to have September 30th at Tiburon here in Southlak. People can donate. They can be a sponsor. They can come and play. And all that money goes back to our project account to help us cover additional costs. And then people can serve. They can volunteer, come out and help us at the golf tournament. There are times that we need help around the showroom. So there are things that people can do. And then share the stories. Buy a gift, hand it to someone. We have cards, and sometimes our teams will have a card that's saying the story behind the product of the team. Some of them will have pictures of the lady that actually quilted that blanket or sewed this item, that they can see the individual that this product came from their hands. And giving something like that as a gift shares her story, becomes an advocate for that person. And then you're sharing what we're doing whether that's through social media, invitations to come shop at this place with me. You've got to see this. You need to hear the stories. We've got a video that runs by our coffee bar, and it tells a beautiful story of one of our workshops where Mina's from. So you can actually see her picture, and she's in the video. So those are ways that when people come in, we want them to engage. We've trained our staff, so when people come in the door, they can hear stories. We've got 23 projects, and our staff's pretty good. They can probably tell you about most of them.
Wow.
And what country it's in, the work that's going on, the products they're making, whether it's working with leather or wood or metal, cloth, growing agriculture products like our coffee bar, pouring wax in candles. All those things are individuals that are being supported through our work.
So really, when you're coming in here, you're joining in what the Lord is doing. But I'm paraphrasing. You can tell me.
That's the invitation.
Yeah. You get to whether you purchase something or learn more about what's going on, whether you pass that on to someone or you buy someone a gift from here or whatnot. All those are different ways to join in. If I'm hearing you correctly on God's story and what's going on in all these different countries around the world, and even here. At times in the West too, but I mean we're talking more more around the world. What is something, Amy, I'm curious, what's something that, I put you on the spot, what's something that has surprised you since kind of starting with Latitudes? Doesn't have to be the top thing. No crazy pressure.
I think Mark alluded to it earlier that, well, it's a twofold answer. I think one, you don't realize how hard it is until you're in it. And had we known all the things that we would have gone through ahead of time,
Sure.
I would have said a big fat no
Yeah.
and run. So how hard it's been has been surprising. But then I think also for us, I'll say for me, I'll try to say it without crying. My husband and I cannot be more polar opposite. We're a lot alike in certain, like we're very driven. We have that in common, but I think working with him side by side has been just surprisingly beautiful. And I love it. I mean, it's been hard, especially the first years where we were, it was very rough. So I think that would be my answer is just how difficult it's been.
Sure.
But a good challenging, like we all need to be stretched in our faith and go, okay, God, what are you going to do in this situation? Because this seems like a dead end. And then he's like, nope, here you go.
Yeah.
And we were like, all right, then this is the way we're going.
Yeah.
And then just working alongside my husband has just been a beautiful, beautiful
It's a good
surprise.
word on not having the whole plans revealed. I mean, I'll speak for myself too. There's so many things I feel like I would have never said yes to, or
If you knew.
I would have never done this podcast, if I knew all the details of that. No, but
You and me both, buddy.
No, but the Lord revealing, kind of establishing our steps one step at a time, and more or less kind of being on a need to know basis along the way on purpose, just to not unveil it all. But then look at the fruit of that and the amazing things. And like you said, it's like a beautiful picture. It's like a beautiful challenge almost. You're almost thankful and grateful for it, even though it's hard along the way.
Yeah.
Too.
Mark, would you describe it as beautiful? The answer is yes.
Yes, I would.
Okay, fantastic.
Working together is beautiful. Like after 25 years of marriage and 13 years being basically co-workers, daily being together 24/7, 365 for the most part, like we really like each other.
Yeah.
I mean, we love each other.
Yeah.
We're committed to it, but we really like each other. And I know that the areas that I'm weak at, she's strong in, and I can hand those things off to her and vice versa. The areas where God's equipped me to handle some of those things that she doesn't like doing or just has never wanted to do. So we kind of have that co-working,
Complimentary.
yeah, it works.
Relationship,
We can work very well together when we get out of our own way, right? When we stop, as long as we're not putting ourselves first, it works great.
Yeah.
And it's made our marriage better.
Yeah. 25 years worth.
Yep.
When's your anniversary?
June 5th.
What month? Okay. Wow. What would y'all do for your 25th?
Oh, we're so glad you asked.
What do I walk into?
We had the opportunity to go to North Africa
Okay.
to visit one of our teams that's currently making products for us and one development team that is making some products, but we're not currently buying from them. They had an opportunity that opened up in this last year, and they've found a source to buy products directly, and it's currently filled their capacity. But the question is, what could we do with them? So they invited us to come visit, so we went there. So we spent, 10 days in North Africa in two different countries.
Wow.
In late June, early July. And then our daughter was in the UK. So on the way back, we stopped in the UK and spent.
Wow.
That was kind of our 25-year, 4 days in the UK.
Yeah.
Seeing our daughter, because she'd been gone for at that point about 6 weeks. And then just spending time
Yeah.
driving on the wrong side of the road and visiting St. Andrews.
Mr. Darcy's house.
Visiting Chatsworth, visiting Oxford.
Yes.
Just we drove from We took a train up from London to Glasgow and then drove from Glasgow all the way back down to London in 4 days of just seeing and loving it.
Yeah.
It was a blast.
That's an awesome way.
Sounds great.
Spend anniversary. So before we move to an intense part of this, I know this has been really intense. Thank
Very
you.
intense.
Thank you for hanging in there so long. So I have a random question, actually. So you hit on something that made me think earlier, Markimus, when you were talking, is, I'm going to call you Markimus, since you said Michael earlier, was, you talked about when a Christian approaches someone and shares the gospel, they're trying to introduce them to Jesus, but that person is trying to understand where their next meal is and how it could be ineffective. It doesn't mean God couldn't do something in that moment, but like, how would you encourage someone to process that? Like whoever it is they're talking to, it could be their neighbor, it could be anyone, to be considerate of them and the needs and the person they're addressing, along with the gospel. Because sometimes we're taught, just go share the gospel and just, move on. And there's nothing wrong with sharing the gospel, obviously. I'll be the first to say that. But I feel like you're onto something there on when you're sharing that, but you're oblivious potentially to that person's like, I'm starving right now. I literally don't have the capacity to hear what you're saying.
Yeah. Street evangelism has a role, right? There are people that will come to believe because they've been experiencing something that's completely different, and that's where God meets them, right?
Yeah.
But then there's also the moment, and it's in this society as in every society, that people are so overwhelmed with the problems in their life that an eternal solution makes no sense because they can't get past today. And I think the biggest thing we have to do is be aware. Don't come in with an agenda and only live by that agenda. You have to understand, where are they at? Where does God have them right now? And how can I best meet them in that position? It's not my agenda anymore. It's his agenda.
Yeah.
And I think you see this where it says Jesus saw the crowd and had compassion on them, right? He was moved based on who they were, where they were, because they didn't have a shepherd, right? There's something about that. He took weight of the situation and the individuals there, in each of their positions, he was sympathetic to. And I think as Christians, we're called to be that person of empathy and sympathy and meet them where they are. As a person I mentioned earlier who went through a divorce, early, young 20-something divorce, right? I've spoken to so many guys that have been on the throes of divorce that they think that's the answer, and I get to speak into all the heartache, all the pain, and what you don't hear of in society when they say, oh, this is a great solution. There's someone else for you. Just go be happy. That's not what we're called to as believers. And someone needs to talk about those pitfalls and the things that are waiting that you'll never get past, right? They're always going to be a part of your life. So in the same way, you have to be aware of what someone is dealing with and speak into their heart in a timely manner. So I think it's being aware, self-aware part of that, and then also just be aware of who they are, what they're going through, and realize if they're starving, they may not care about their eternity at this point in time. But at some point, they'll realize, okay, if God does care about me and I am fed to some degree, maybe my eternity should matter. Then what is that like? And you've also earned the ability to speak into their life at a much deeper level than if it's a passing, I'm going to jump in your face, this is going to be Apologetics 101, I'm going to argue you to Christ type of deal. Some places that's where you have to go. But I think most of the stories we hear of, it's someone who for years loved somebody or for months loved somebody unconditionally, spoke the truth, and finally something begins to change. I don't think it's a microwave Christianity that we're called to project. I think it's the crock pot Christianity that you need to let it marinate and really begin to have those flavors cook in. Because there's so much depth to God's love and his character. And that just takes a while to kind of get through.
So if they see that compassion before they're called to that comprehension of the bigger story, then that can go a long way.
Can I share just briefly about our house helper Parveen when we were in India?
Yeah, of course.
So we, there was a language barrier. Like we could communicate, very minimally with one of each other. So it was mostly like hand signals and me trying to work through Hindi with her, but she spoke Urdu.
Calling a translator to speak on the cell phone to speak to her.
So we had no idea because she and her daughter Shavreen would come and every day. And so there would be times where I remember we would give her leftovers, because they were going to go bad, and she would take those from us. And then there was a bag of rice that had maggots in it, and I was throwing that in the trash, and she was like, "Oh no!" So she took that, and I'm like, "Oh, okay." And so we would give her clothing and food and money sometimes, and we had no idea the depth of poverty that they were living in. Her husband was a painter, construction, and he had injured himself, and so he couldn't work. She was the sole breadwinner at the time, and they had multiple children. And so we had to leave India unexpectedly. And, of course, on our end, we thought we were a failure. Like we left because of a sick kid. Audrey was sick. And we were like, Lord, what in the world? Like, we wasted all of your money. We wasted your time. And what was all this for? Well, years later, we're how many years into Latitudes? And
3 or 4.
She had been handed off to our teammates, and then teammates after that, and a teammate after that who was a nurse. And she just, Parveen, she was helping Lindsay, and Lindsay was like, oh, what is wrong? She had, Parveen had pain in her abdomen. She's like, well, can I pray for you? And it wasn't like a Jesus heal. It was more of just a like, bless Parveen, help her. And, Jesus healed her.
Wow.
And Parveen told Lindsay later, she's like, well, I don't want to pray to anybody else but Jesus now. And Parveen has now become like an evangelist. Like her whole family came to Christ.
Wow.
She went back to her village, shared about Jesus. And so to your point, we had no idea, like we weren't like sharing the gospel with her, but you have no idea what people are going through and the impact that multiple people speak into people's lives.
Yeah.
And also like to that point too, the whole read the room situation, like read the room with people.
Yeah.
Like ask them how they're doing.
Yeah.
Before you.
Yeah. Take an interest.
Yeah. Take an interest and show that you care. Ask them about, hey, well, how are you doing? How's your family? Blah, blah, blah. So read the room with people and see where they're at.
And it could be as simple also as doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Right? There was a time where Parveen was having trouble with our landlord, and we had to protect her. And so I had to go have a confrontational conversation with the guy we were renting a house from.
Yeah.
That spoke the world to her.
Oh,
that
yeah.
we would be on her side instead of this wealthier man's side, right? No one had probably ever stood up for her in her life. And that we were living the gospel. We couldn't speak to her and share the gospel in her language.
Yep.
But we could live the gospel in front of her. And so we were giving her Sundays off. And that was a sticking point with why it became a problem with our landlord, because it's not fair for her not to work when everyone else has to work.
Yeah.
But we were sharing with him why Sundays are off, not just for us, but also those that work with us and your animals. Like, what is the biblical context for why the Sabbath is important? And that speaks to her.
Yeah.
There's a purpose behind it. God is behind it.
Yep.
And that's ultimately what you're trying to convey is it's not about Mark and Amy having a store selling stuff. It's God's behind all these things. And we just get to watch what he does and hopefully follow where he tells us to go and do and see him work. And whatever that looks like, if we're open-handed about it, it's not going to look like Mark or not going to look like Amy. It's going to look like him. And that's when it's really, really gorgeous and beautiful is when it does look like him and not like us.
Yeah.
But you do get to see him work and just try and be faithful with the little that he gives you to do that day. Stay timely.
Yeah.
Stay present.
Yeah.
Stay aware.
I think the open-handedness too takes the pressure off, so you can really move in freedom because you're going, okay, I might be one of 45 people who've talked to this person, but you know what? Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what order I'm in or getting the words exactly right. Or read the room, have the awareness, but if you don't have it perfectly, that's okay.
Yeah.
Just like take a
Gives you a lot of
step,
freedom.
say a word, be genuine, because we can pick up when someone's genuine or not. And just, I think the posture of that open hand's so important. Just like, okay, God, today's your day, your agenda, your calendar, your person in front of me, and I just want to be faithful.
It's Paul who plants the seed, Apollos who waters, but it's God who causes the growth, right? It's not, Paul wasn't the one doing any of the ultimate work. He was doing the tasks set in front of him, and it was God who was going to do the growth, do the work that was so desperately needed.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I love it, and I love how it ties back to the name here, Latitude. You're giving yourself latitude to be open to what God's doing, and then you're extending freedom for those that you're helping. And I found out something interesting today, that in the Philippines that they take the Burr months, September, October, November, December, and they celebrate Christmas that whole time.
Oh.
And I thought, that's fantastic. I would love that for you, because we're going to have a lot of people through this area shopping. Usually we have to wait until November, December, but I would love it if they came in September and October, November and December here to be a part of this and hear the stories. And so anybody listening to this in our area, put Latitudes on the map, come out here, be a part of this.
That's right.
Learn the stories, see what Mark and Amy are doing, how they're being used, and how it's helping other people.
Meet our staff.
Meet the staff.
And we
They know
have
the
Christmas
stories.
items out year-round here.
And free coffee
And free coffee.
with fancy.
I want to make sure people heard
machines.
that. Free
Free coffee.
coffee.
Good coffee.
Free coffee.
Premium
Southlak-
coffee.
Southlak,
Premium
Texas. Premium
coffee.
Speaking of premium, I think it's time to move to the premium lightning round, everybody.
Is it time?
I think it is time. Bum, bum, bum. Were you doing who just did that? Did you do that?
No, I
thought
didn't.
You did that. Were you,
Michael, you just did that.
That was the weakest air horn we've ever heard in the history of the show. So, Chris, why don't you lead the lightning round this time? Okay. No, hold on. The quick rules to the lightning round is you cannot overthink it.
Oh,
Okay.
I'm an overthinker.
You need to basically barely think. You're going to have to answer.
boy.
Yeah, and
It's
you
like
can decide
quick reactions.
who's going first. And
You figure that out. You got
The ladies
25 years of
go
marriage.
first.
Oh,
25 years of marriage. Did you hear me? Just in that swagger right there. That's so good.
Coca-Cola time.
Okay, here we go.
All right. You can see any music artist in concert. Who do you pick?
Long silence.
Oh my gosh. Prolonged pregnant pause.
It doesn't have to be the perfect
Any
answer.
music? Oh.
You can
Thank
see
you for
any,
the Cheetos.
Do you want me to start again?
Need to breathe.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Musical group, I would probably say U2.
Oh, very good.
I'm so
But
glad
I
we
would
started
see
off
Les
with
Miserables live anytime I could.
We asked for one answer, so don't worry about that.
I agree with both of those. Those are great.
Okay.
East Coast or West Coast? I know you didn't.
East
want me to
Coast.
say that, Mike.
Neither Middle America.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
He's
That's the
terrible.
first one
He's
we get.
going
East-
against the
East
grain.
Coast would be my preference
Thank you.
between the two.
Motorcycle or jet ski?
Ew. Neither.
Since we were in a motor
Yeah.
scooter accident
Oh,
overseas
Yeah.
and
PTSD.
almost died, we'll just stay on the water.
Wow,
and jet
these
skis.
questions are terrible for them. I'm sorry. We apologize.
We have issues.
Hopefully no issues with this one. Greatest sports team ever assembled, and you could include our soccer team that we played on together for 121.
Word.
But
What year did the Mavs go to the playoffs? Not Luka era.
Dirk.
They won in
era?
Dirk
2011.
era. 2011.
We were living overseas when they won.
Yeah, 2011 Mavs.
great answer.
Yes. Dirk Mess. Wait, did you give a sports team? What?
He's gonna do Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, cool. Bulls.
Mid-90s Bulls.
Mid-90s Bulls.
Moving on.
Best pizza in DFW.
I Fratellis.
Oh yeah. Barnum. Ibertellis. Thank you.
The reason why I like you guys so much. Best coffee shop in town. Better say Latitudes.
That would be here. I
Latitudes.
know that one already. Thank you. That one.
Although we don't open until 10 a.m., so that's
Okay,
sorry.
It's a little
man.
problematic.
Shut it down. We just talked it up.
I don't want people lined up at 6 a.m. wanting coffee.
Oh, that's true.
It's
10
not gonna
a.m.
happen.
10 a.m. everyone. 10
Thank
a.m.
you. Yeah.
10 a.m.
Okay. Thank you.
So dogs, perros, or cats?
Oh
Gatos.
no. Y'all, why are we?
Say the
Why
right
do I have
answer.
to choose?
No, there's division here.
I know y'all
As
are
there
all
should
dog
be.
people. I've heard all of your podcasts.
Don't know us at all. But you're right.
I
You
know.
just say dogs. You want to go ahead and say it.
I was dog.
Okay.
I have slowly made my way over to the cat.
I haven't heard that one before. I've always heard the other way. I was cat.
I
and
love them both, but the qualities of a cat, their independence, they can pee on their own.
But they're so
We can leave
stuck
them.
up. They're like, they're
Yes.
so like, ugh.
Yeah,
There's just like
and
a
dogs
weird...
are way too needy.
No, they're loving. Loving.
We have a really sweet
We
I'm
really do.
sure your
cat.
cat
Toothless
is
one-eyed
and
cat.
a 100% dog.
Thank you,
Hey,
my man.
our daughter Audrey,
Yeah.
trained our cat to sit like a dog.
That's kind of impressive. Okay, so if you're turning the cat into a dog,
kinda
I
are.
think that's a fair situation.
Okay.
I'm okay with that.
If the cat-
the more dog-like that the cat gets,
Yes.
She's
the
a
better
cog.
for
Yes.
everybody.
She's a cog.
Yes, she's a cog. We love cogs.
Yep.
Favorite comedian
Oh.
or comedian?
Comedian.
Oh,
One of
Jerry
your favorites.
Seinfeld.
Oh, nice.
Old school.
I'm really old school. So
Oh.
I grew up listening to comedians on LPs,
Oh my word.
on vinyl.
Are you going there?
Rodney Dangerfield.
Wow.
Steve Martin.
Really?
Oh, I like Steve Martin.
I do too.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I do too.
And there's a current documentary that's out on Apple TV about his life. That's pretty funny. It's amazing. Just
I do like Steve Martin. I'm sorry I gave you crickets. So my many apologies.
We'll take
all
the
right.
crickets
So,
back.
I didn't know that you were going with Steve Martin.
Love the
Okay.
King Tut.
Here we go.
yep.
Yeah.
We used to do. All right. If you were a superhero or superheroine, who would you be?
Wonder Woman.
Wonder Woman.
I wore
Okay.
Wonder Woman
heroin?
underoos growing up.
Heroin?
Heroine?
Okay. Yep. Wonder Woman. Okay. Go.
You didn't hear the second part.
Wait.
I wore Wonder Woman underoos growing up. Remember underoos?
What's
Nope.
an
You're too young.
underoos?
You're too young.
What's
They were-
I'm not 5 years old, Table. I've already been kicked out of this family, and now I'm
I
just a
probably
little
did.
baby.
What do you think underoos are?
Oh, yeah, what are they?
It sounds like an undergarment.
That
Like
is
something you
correct.
would wear under. Oh, thank you
They
very
were
much.
themed undergarments, a T-shirt that went with the bottom.
Did you wear the same underoo
I may
as
have
Wonder
had
Woman?
Superman or Yoda or something like that.
Do you know what we're talking about?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so
It was a set that looked like a costume,
Yeah.
but it was underwear.
Yeah.
the favorite you were a superhero. It's PJs. It's Wonder Woman PJs. is what
Well,
you're saying.
my point was,
Oh, okay.
I loved her so much. I wanted her invisible airplane
all the time.
and her lasso that would cause people to tell the truth.
That's right.
I wanted to be her.
Truth lasso. You?
Yeah, I'd have to stick with Wonder Woman too. The invisible jets. That's what I did.
Yeah.
Did not see that coming. Did not see that coming.
This is the last question. Here we go. Here we go.
If someone were to narrate your life story, who would it be?
Well, since James Earl Jones just
I know.
expired,
Rest in
peace, James.
R.I.P.
Yeah, can't go there.
Oh, so we're not going there. I
can't.
That was a loophole. I thought he was
sorry.
going to
I
go
said
there.
since he has
Okay.
passed.
Okay.
I liked Chris Clayton's. Or was it Chris Clayton that said Matthew McConaughey?
All right.
I think
Someone did.
But that's
Someone
not
did.
my answer.
Chris Clayton did say.
So you both have thrown out candidates so far that are not your
we're
answers.
just getting rid of people
So
now.
we're just talking about people that you don't want to narrate.
Look, third wheel.
It's a family thing. It's a family thing, Mike. You wouldn't understand.
You're at our store. Live from Latitudes. These are our rules.
I
Be
think,
open-handed, Michael. Be
Extend you
open-handed.
some freedom on this.
There's a Michael.
can I finish?
Yes, sorry, we apologize.
I would say like
I'm sorry.
one of my kids. Is that weird?
No, not at
I like
all.
that.
That's great.
Maybe Audrey or Taylor. Narrate it.
I actually like that a
I was going
lot.
to say you might want to say both.
Both
As
my
opposed to
kids.
picking out both
Edit that.
equally.
At the
Edit
same
that.
time.
and say both.
100% equally. Okay, Mark.
I'm going Chris Howard. His skills.
Yes.
Because that way you really get like 4 or 5 people narrating your life story, not just one.
Right.
Here's your $10.
He has been known to do impersonations before. I mean,
Yeah.
sometimes we've had real guests like Mike Tyson and
Right.
Christopher Walken, but the other times when you're making impersonations.
Yeah.
In fact, wait a minute. Did Christopher Walken just walk into Latitudes here in Southlak to end the show? Christopher, you're here again?
I was wandering around the mean streets of South Lake. South of the lake we are. And I come here and I find the Lathams eating Cheetos.
Can I offer you a Cheeto,
I
Christopher?
think we should all take a Cheeto, take it in our hand,
Oh, did I just eat mine early?
get another one, Michael.
Okay. Oh, wow.
It's not your first rodeo.
Sorry, there you go.
Somebody hand that man a Cheeto before he keels over.
So, Christopher, what are we doing here?
We're all going to take a bite of the Cheeto at the same time.
Oh.
We're going to say goodbye.
Okay.
Ready?
We're
One,
doing- oh.
2,
Huh?
out of 3.
All right, everyone.
A little ASMR going on.
Thank you very much. Mark and Amy Latham here live, Latitudes, Southlak, Texas.
Come see us.
How do I get out of here?
Come see us, Christopher. Someone call the police. Chris, can you get on that? Can you see him out, please?
I'll see him.
Hey, can I
Christopher, over
say
here.
something?
Oh, sure.
I just want to encourage you guys. I've been listening to you, and you guys put a smile on my face, and I'm laughing in my car. Because that's generally my podcast time is in my car. But God bless you for being obedient and stepping out and doing something that you've never done before, and you're doing it well, and you're honoring God in it. So thank you.
Wow.
We say thank you, and we say the same to you.
Yeah. 100%.
Love you, Lathams.
Yep.
Love you.
Love you guys.
I guess I love you guys too. I'm in the family. Am I in the family? I guess I'm not in the family
on,
yet.
Mike.
Am I
We
in
got-
now?
we have
I'm
room.
in the family.
You are in.
Here we go. Hey.
Thanks, Uncle Michael.
Thanks so much for joining us. Please consider rating and reviewing our podcast and hitting subscribe on whichever platform you prefer. Remember to keep moving forward because we're not quite there.